So this is probably gonna be pretty basic for a lot of people, but I want to start from like the bare bones and then work my way into the details because I don't want to skip anything for anyone who's new to this. I want to cover fucking everything, bro. Everything. So how does T side work? You have your pistol round. Everyone knows this, right? You start off pistol round. Not much else to say. It's fucking pistol round. Have a strat for it. We'll talk about strats later. All right. So then after pistol round, when it comes to actually getting into the game, what you need to do as an IGL is first read your economy and then the enemy's team economy, which I'll make a video about, which I think I already have one actually, but that video is kind of whack. So I'll probably make another one about this. This is kind of how you want to start off every round. So first read your economy, then read your enemy's team economy. See if they can afford an op. See if the CTs can afford an op. See if they have lots of util. See if they're on an eco round. See if they're on a full buy. And these will dictate what you should call on freeze time. Right? If you know they can't op, you might want to go for a contact play that round because ops counter contacts. If there's no op, then there's no hard counter to a contact. If you know that they have low util, you might want to play for the late round because they're going to be low util, and if they decide to waste it on a map control take, they'll have 0 util for the end game. So you can just go for like an execute late round. Just basically, the more money an enemy team has, the more options they have. The less money they have, the more you can track their options and see what's most likely to happen. So if they have full money, a full buy, they can do anything they want. They have full options to do everything. They can literally not use their util and just rush you. That's an option they can do on a full buy. So just be aware that the less money they have, the more you're able to accurately predict what they're able to do. So read your economy, then read the enemy's team economy. So this is the most important one too, like reading your own economy. See if you're even able to default that round. If you don't have enough util to default, maybe go for early round execute or early round pop, or you run like what we call our SUDS default, a save util default, where it's like you have certain ways to take map control that don't use that much util. So you're actually able to default in these rounds that you don't have a lot of util. That's what you should This is what you should be first thinking about when it comes to like the first thought that goes to your head. What's your economy? What's the enemy's team economy? And then you call something off a spawn. This is what I would call the first phase of the round. It's just like the freeze time calls. So the enemy team will freeze time call and you will also freeze time call as well. This is when you're like, all right, let's run let's do our anti-eco, or let's 4-1 towards A, throw fast brackets, fake that, and we're gonna go for early round B pop. Like you just start. You have like an idea of what's going to happen that round, you call it. And I wrote this down here. Is this where you condition and cash in. So through all of T side, you're conditioning things. And then once you see the CTs get used to it, you cash in and you do something else. That's why I call cashing in your conditioning. All right. Yeah. Let's say you've been conditioning late round takes, right? Let's say you've been doing late round executes. So the CTs adapt to this and they start saving their util to smoke you off late round. Now that they're saving util, you can cash in on that and go for some fast, more aggressive early round takes because they're probably not going to be fighting for map control because they're saving their util for the late round. That's you cashing in on that conditioning. Another thing you can do is like, yeah, you can condition just fighting for car control like super heavily. And then you just cash in once you notice that they don't play for car control, and then just have one person go there instead of like a bunch of people. You see what I'm saying? You condition certain things and you cash them in. All right, then the second phase of T side would be mid rounding. So you end up calling what you want to do off of freeze time. The CTs call what they want to do. The clash happens and then chaos happens, and then now you got to work your way through the chaos. You can't predict for this, right? Mid rounding is something that you can review in a demo after, but it's not something that you can accurately predict, because you don't know what the other team's exactly going to do. You're not perfect. You're human. Like, the mistakes are going to happen, and sometimes they come out on top, sometimes you come out on top, and you still need a mid round though. And so this is just basically you deciding what needs to happen mid round, what call you want to make based on the information that you got from what you've seen, what you've heard, what kills you got, map control you have. You end up making a call based off of this in the mid round. It's kind of like chess, right? You'll have two sides, they have their openers, and then at a certain point you don't have protocols for the openings anymore because it just got too chaotic. You got like a fucking knight behind their enemy lines, they got like a queen over here. You can't predict for this no more. You got to just play off the fundamentals and work your way through the madness of the chessboard. Same thing goes for Counter-Strike. You have the mid round. Use the information you get from what you see, map control, all that good stuff, and then make a call. Eventually group up and hit a site. So then you get into the third phase, which is finishing on a site. Just breaking down like taking a site. You got like different ways to take a site. You got like an execute, heavy util, smokes, util precedes the players. You got a contact where it's just like, you walk into the site, no util, you just take it dry. You have a pop where you throw a flash and everyone just explodes off the pop of the flash, and you just bust in the site. And then breaking down a pop, you got like a group pop where it's like you throw one flash, everyone goes, and you throw util on the fly. Or you got like duo trio pops where like you throw one flash with two people entering, supported by util after. And that's just like kind of like to beat the CT's counter util. And I'll talk about these in further detail later in other videos, but they all have their benefits to them. That's breaking down pop. You also have your splits, your crunches. Splitting is just like, equal numbers on both sides of the map, splitting onto a site. A crunch is just like where you have a majority on one side and like the minority on the others. Let's say you're splitting A on Inferno, right? A split would be like 3 arches, 2 brackets. That's a split. A crunch would be like 4 arches, 1 apse. That's like an A-site crunch, an arch crunch. Then you also have your fakes to finish on the site where you throw something on one site to fake that, and then you hit the other. You also have your double fakes where you just do the thing twice over. Fake this, fake that, and actually go here. You see what I'm saying? And then there's the fourth phase, which not a lot of people talk about, is the post plant. So after the bomb gets planted. And this is usually where a lot of people just like think their IGL job is over. That's not true. You still need an IGL post plant. So like take a look. Yeah, so right here, weigh out the advantages and disadvantages for you and the other team, right? What's your numbers like? What's your util like? Your weaponry, your map control? And if you're down in an advantage, if you're at the disadvantage, you need to take a risk. You can't just play the site. So this is where the IGLing comes in. So like, let's say we're on B site Inferno, and I realize that it's a 4v4, but my team is all on SMGs, and we have no util. We hit the site early round, the CTs have full util. They're in the advantage. They're about to have a really good retake. Let's push church. Guys, we have no util. We need to push church. Let's make a map control play. That's evening the advantage. You take the risk of pushing church to even out the advantages. Your IGL job is still active post plant. So yeah, you weigh out the advantages, decide if you're strong enough with your current setup, and then if you're not, make a map control play, or you can make individual plays. Like you flash someone to peak CT. You got to even out the advantages. So that's pretty much how you should approach a round T side, and I'll just break down the roles. So these are not hard. All these are not hard and fast, but this is usually generally what you would see in a team. So roles on a T side team, you'll usually have your star player, like usually your best aimer, and you'll want to put this guy like with the pack. You usually want your star player to be like second or third in, because you don't want him dying. Like this is, he's your star player. You usually want him to like be alive to refrag. You usually have like your entry fragger come in and the star player refrags, because you can count on him getting the kill. You have your clutch player, which also can be the star player and also can be the lurk. That's what I'm saying. These roles are kind of interchangeable, but you'll hear this a lot. You have like a clutch player, so usually a player that you'll set up to always be alive in late round situations. So like that'll be like, yeah, it could be your star player, the third or fourth in. He'll usually be alive in post plant. You have your main caller, which is the IGL, which should be you if you're watching this video. I mean, if you're not an IGL, you can still watch this video, learn a lot from it. Your lurk, which I would also consider your secondary caller. If your lurk's not your secondary caller, you're doing something wrong. This is usually the guy who's solo a lot on one side of the map. And yes, should be your secondary caller, because why would you have a secondary caller that's playing side by side with you? That's just dumb. You need a secondary caller that can see what you can't see. So your lurk should be your secondary caller. Your opper, that's another role that you'll have. I don't think I need to explain that. Support player, this is not really a hard and fast role, and don't label yourself as a support player. This term gets thrown around a lot. It's something that usually you come across as based on your positioning. It's not something that you're stuck as, but it's usually the person that's like throwing util to support other people. Don't be attached to this role, because it can be anyone. Your opera can be the support player. Your star player can be the support player. Anyone can just turn into the support player for a certain situation. People talk about this like too much, I think.
So the reason I'm mentioning this is because I've noticed in the past with previous teammates and in myself too, is that when people get too attached to the role of like being a support player or whatever, is that like it's kind of just an excuse for not being good at the game and lacking confidence. And these people usually just tend to like shy away from necessary fights and aim duels that can win rounds, just because like they want to throw util instead. So nothing wrong with definitely like leaning towards more supportive jobs in a team, but this is just something I've noticed before.
And then you have your entry, usually the guy who's first in. This is also not a hard and fast role. I think it used to be older metas of CS. Usually nowadays you kind of have like protocols on who should like be first in. That's what the entry means, the first person into a site. And it can be anyone. It could be your star player if he's the lowest on HP, right? And you have like, your main caller, the IGL, who's got full util. You don't want him entering if you got another person without util. Like those are some protocols you'll run into on like who should be entry. That's why I say it's not really a hard and fast role, but these are usually the roles you'll come across on T side. And yeah, it's pretty much breaking down all the T side, and I'll get into further detail of fucking everything, dude. Defaults, executes, explaining all those executes I talked about. I'll get into all that detail, reading economy, all that shit in future videos. I just got to start from the basics and then work my way into each of those topics. So yeah, hopefully this helps. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe, and yeah.